operations, rev ops, sales ops, marketing ops, channel ops, CS ops. You know, it's got its different avatar, fin ops, deal desk, blah 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 blah. I think all of it comes together as revenue operations, and what we do is, hey, especially for all of us, right, which are SaaS-based companies, I think a RevOps plays a very critical and key role in terms of the growth. Right? When you're doing a 0 to 1, there's a lot that you're doing yourself, but then beyond that, you need a lot of help to scale a SaaS startup, especially if you're really focused on hyper growth. And how does, so we'll look at what is RevOps, how can RevOps help you, what should be your thought process as the founding members, initial few members, and when and where do you bring in RevOps into your entire GTM strategy. So, some disclaimers before we get started. I usually crack jokes that only I laugh at. So, if you find it funny, good. If not, I'm not responsible for it. Okay. Everything that I'm sharing today is what I have learned throughout my professional career. If you agree, that's good. If not, let's meet over here. I'm sure I can convince you. Right? And today's presentation is for informational purposes only. Right? Please do not consider this as business, financial, personal, legal, or any other type of advice. So, any decision that you take based on this is your own risk, not mine. Okay, and I am a RevOps professional, right? And it is my duty and professional responsibility to give gyan. So I think you'll have to stick through the gyan. My apologies. And as we get to the Q&A session, anytime you have any questions, please raise your hand. Vishwas will pass along the mic, and then we should be good. What's the Vishwas? Perfect. So this is me, Vinod, about 20 years into the RevOps space. I think one of the very few in India that have been in the RevOps space for close to 2 decades. So feel free to call me the grandpa of RevOps when it comes to the India market. Companies that I have worked for, Akamai, Replicon, Kaseya, Unified, Whatfix, and Amagi. I think one true story that aligns all of these companies is all of these have scaled from 0 to 1, 1 to 10. Some are in the journey of 10 to 100, and some have gone 100 and beyond, and a few beyond $1 billion as well. And I think these companies are a standing proof that, hey, if you are serious about growth and hyper growth and growing fast, then how RevOps is actually going to help play out, right? Was a founder myself. My office was a startup that I did. I ran it for about close to 2.5 odd years. Various reasons, I had to come back to the corporate world, but that was my entrepreneurial journey. And we're going to be talking sales ops, marketing ops, customer success ops. It's a journey where we can go on and on. So I think for today, we're just going to focus on the sales side of the house a lot more, not trying to get too deep into the other functions, but any questions you will have. So the question is, hey, what is revenue operations? It's not just a buzzword, right? Typically, RevOps works with your sales, your partnership or your channels, your marketing, your customer success, your finance, your research, your enablement. So pretty much every department that's responsible and really puts in growth efforts or the GTM efforts is what revenue ops helps with. And what do we help with? I think the first one is strategic planning and GTM. Right? As a company, when you start your year or much before you start your year, you need to come up with a number. You need to say, hey, I'm going to go from, let's say, $100,000 and I'm going to hit $1 million in terms of ARR this year. So how do you make that decision? Why do you make that decision? Should you actually choose 1 million or should we stick to a 500K? Right? Here's a decision that needs to be made. Typically, we help companies, revenue helps you make that scientific decision, right? And if you've chosen a 500K or a million or 10 million, whatever your number is, you need a detailed plan to get there. You need to know what your sales is going to do, what your marketing is going to do, how is your customer success going to play, what should your finance do, where do they come, where do they go. Everything that needs to be done typically is what we help with in terms of setting up those GTM plans, right? Right from setting quotas to every single individual person who's responsible for revenue to deciding their day-to-day operations, how many emails should they send out, how many calls should they make, and the metrics go on and on forever, right? Then there is the process management, because if you have so many people involved with so many metrics, everything needs to fall in place in terms of a process, because you can't have a sales rep doing something on a diary, you can't have a marketing person doing something else in another system, nothing really ties back. So how do you unify the entire process, and how does everybody work toward the common goal, whether that's 500K, a million, or whatever your GTM strategy is? How does the process fall into places where DevOps typically comes in and helps in, right? Revenue recognition is all finance, but typically finance needs a lot of process-related help to get to revenue recognition, and that's a very serious business. You need to get it right as a business, else you can't exist. So that's why we typically come in and help out. Enablement and training. If you want to do all of this, if people have to understand the process, they need to be trained. Like, they need to know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and that's where DevOps helps with enablement and training, mostly across the revenue functions, GTM functions, but sometimes also beyond the GTM. Okay? Analytics. Everything that you have done, if you have done it right, it's going to produce a lot of data, and how do you make meaning out of that data? Right? Since there's a lot of data, what do you track? What do you not track? Right? I think data can drive you crazy, but without driving you crazy, how can data make a lot more sense? And that's where the KPIs come in, that's where the analytics come in, that's where the dashboards come in. What do you look at? Right? What do you not look at? Like, if you look at Google Analytics, you can just look at a Google Analytics dashboard and be lost and study through it for 3 hours and probably not have a single insight. But what do you look at what time becomes very, very critical, right? Then everybody works for money, including the founders. So how do you set up a money management system? How much money does your sales rep make? Marketing person make? How much money do you make as a founder? Is the entire thing of incentive management or incentive planning. It's not HR and salaries, that's where HR flourishes. But if you're typically a sales rep, right, you know that a part of your salary is fixed, a part of your salary is variable. How does that variable function? Right? What is your target that's given? How are you going to make money? If you don't hit your targets, do you get punished? If you hit your targets, do you actually make more than you're supposed to make? When do your accelerators come into play? That's the thing. Data management, like I said, not just looking, but how does the data sit together, right? Whether it's a data lake, whether it's just Salesforce, whether it's just HubSpot, it's a Google Sheet, it's an Excel spreadsheet, it's a presentation. How does your entire data sit, and who sees what? Typically is data management. And for all of this, I think you guys as SaaS founders are building technology, right? And that's where the technology management, right from vendor selection to which is the technology that needs to be selected for a particular company, why, how do you implement it, how much of it, right? Salesforce is a vast ocean, but you don't need everything in a Salesforce for your company on day one. So what part of Salesforce, as an example, do you implement, right? Or Google Analytics, how much of that do you implement on day one? So how does that entire tech stack management work, right from selection to your day-to-day usage is typically what RevOps helps you. I know it's a lot. Do you really need it on day one? Probably not. But as you go along, I think somewhere along the journey you have to learn these things, be aware of these things, and plan, right? And ensure that it kind of comes along the way. So how do you do that? There's kind of my thought process of, hey, when you look at operations and revenue operations, you've got sales ops, marketing ops, channel ops, customer success ops, deal desk, sales enablement, enterprise applications, managing the entire systems, your FinOps and your growth marketer, right? So for a 0 to 1, typically, especially in the earlier days, I think you should get your sales and marketing ops in play, right? Now it could just be you, or I have a suggestion in terms of who that person could be, but I think getting that person can help you a lot and help you make your growth journey a lot more easier. So those are two things that I think you should start taking if you're not already as a 0 to 1. As you go along and you start getting much better, maybe you're at a 0 but you've gotten to 100K or 200K or 300K ARR. But if you've gotten to a 500K ARR, then I think you are serious as a business and you definitely need to start thinking ops, right? Otherwise, everything else can be ignored. But as you grow beyond that 500K or million, I think not just your sales and marketing operations, but you also need to start thinking about your customer success operations, because when you're at a beyond 1 million ARR, you're not dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 customers. You're dealing with customers who are depending on you to run their day-to-day operations. Managing them efficiently becomes difficult. Else, you're going to have a very leaky bucket where you're trying to bring in a lot of customers on top. you're going to start losing customers. Churn, as we call it, is going to become a serious problem. So how do you bring in that?
Quick, small question. How do you define sales ops and marketing ops? Because I know there's a lot of bearing difference.
So anything that deals with numbers and everything related to the sales department, the sales operations, marketing department as well. Like for example, hey, quota setting, did you hit your goals? What is your quota? Did you hit your goals? How much of pipeline do you have? Right? Are you doing the right pipeline conversion? That's sales operation. Whereas, hey, in marketing operations, okay, how much of money do you put into, how much of money do you put into PPC versus SEO versus other channels? How is that conversion happening at the tofu side of it? Right? Is there enough conversion that's happening? All of that is marketing. So marketing ops typically sits with the CMO or the marketing teams. Sales sits with the sales, and then similarly, right? And then we'll not worry about it. The slides are there, but typically I think it's important, especially related to growth, as to how you can start looking at numbers, right? And sales ops does not necessarily mean hiring a sales ops manager. It's a thought process, and how do you start that thought process early on is what is more important when you start at companies. I think everybody will agree to this, especially startup founders, is we live this every single day, right? As long as we are making mistakes, I think it's a living proof that we are trying hard every single day. Some days we will make mistakes, some days we will not make mistakes, and that's absolutely okay. And what I am hoping for is that there are some things that I have learned, as an entrepreneur myself, but mostly working with other startup founders very, very closely, in terms of, hey, what are some of those mistakes that you can avoid? This is more from a RevOps perspective and not a business perspective, right? So it's all very specific to RevOps. I think first one, and Manoj said this many times, is that time is the scariest and the most expensive resource that we have in our pockets right now. Right? And I think it's very important, especially for the 0 to 1 companies, to make the best of this. Call it jugaad, call it hustle, call it any other thing, but I think just given all of those names, sometimes we don't respect time good enough. Why? Because I need to eat, I need to sleep, I need to get some time doing other activities. Given all of that, no matter how hard I work, maximum I can do is 16 hours a day. I cannot do 24 hours a day. I need to survive as a human being. I'm not a machine, right? Given that, I think it's very important, and sometimes what we forget in the 0 to 1 journey, and I'm culprit when I did that myself and I've learned that, is that we tend to take on everything on ourselves. And we need to realize that if I am going to do that, I'm not going to succeed at everything. If I am a tech guy, I think my focus needs to be largely product, my product journey, building that customer experience and all of that. Yes, I need to be focused on GTM, but I need to get realistic in terms of how much should I get into GTM, right? Because it's going to take me away from my core. And similarly, for a guy who comes from a business experience, how much do you want to get into technology? Do you really need to get into technology? Maybe it's your business side, right? And when you look at all the 100 things that you need to do, I think there are the top 20 that are most important for you as a startup founder, as a 0 to 1 member, and there are 80 things which are not important. And I think you need to start picking the cues and start delegating as early as possible, because unlike money, which you can probably raise if you lose, time as much as you lose, you're not going to get it back. So one of the first suggestions that I have from a RevOps perspective, right, is hire a research ops person. Right now, whether you call this person business operations guy, research ops guy, sales ops guy, marketing ops guy, whatever you call it, does not have to be something fancy. You find people as low as 3.6 lakhs per annum, which is 30,000 rupees per month. But guess what this one single person does? You don't need to go to LinkedIn or the World Wide Web and search those first 100 companies that you want to reach out to. No, don't do it. Have someone else do it. It's too mundane and not worth your time. Right? Similarly, if you have 2 customers and you need to send up a PDF bill to them, please don't do it yourself. Have somebody else do it. You can actually focus on your GTM and so much more important things that you can do. Similarly, if you look at all the things that you do in a day, you will so easily find some of those things which are not revenue generating. I think as a 0 to 1 member, you need to be focused on those revenue generating key initiatives. Everything else, find one person. Now, remember, it's not just the time when you're in 0 to 1, right? As you're progressing, as Manoj said, you're going to hire a salesperson, you're going to hire a marketing person, If every knowledge sits with you, tomorrow when you should be focused on a lot more things, you're going to be too busy explaining these little things to the salesperson, to the marketing person, because it's important that they get to understand as well. And this one person, call him your sidekick, call him your Robin, your Batman, whatever you want to, is actually going to start saving a lot more in time and money. And the way I tell my startup founders is that, hey, if you think 3.6 lakhs, 20,000 a month is expensive, if you have spent a month doing all of these activities, you have already spent a lot more than 3.6. It's not actual money flow, but you actually could have gone and closed a customer who could have given you a 3.6 lakhs MRR every single month. That's the time you spent generating a bill. That's the time you spent combing through LinkedIn profiles, trying to find out websites of the top 100 companies that you wanted to, manually entering it into your CRM system, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. Right? So it's very critical that what you do versus what you don't do, you need to define yourself, and I think that's going to start helping you out. And also what you need to remember is that as a 0 to 1 member, a lot of time your army that is marching behind you is learning from you. If you do not learn to delegate, very soon you will realize that your second in command is not going to learn to delegate, because they are going to start taking everything from you. And then when you have done that 0 to 1 journey and want to do that 1 to 10, and which typically could be a hockey stick, or 10 to 100, which definitely is a hockey stick, you are going to suffer a lot. I mean, this is something that every single startup owner, a lot of successful startups, I'm sure you would have seen that, go through that. So can you avoid making those mistakes, right? The second pitfall that I've typically seen, right, and for no fault of ours, is that we don't, when we say sales, oh, acha, some guy who's supposed to go and sell. Marketer, some guy who's supposed to do SEO, PPC, blah, blah, blah. I think when you are so focused on SaaS startups, especially B2C, B2B SaaS startups, I think marketing, I'll not get into it, it's own plethora journey in itself, but when you look at sales itself, there are certain specific things that sales reps do, and it's very critical for you to understand what each of these mean, because the moment you finish the 0 to 1, you will probably need all of these guys. So your VCs are going to ask you to hire all of these guys, and you don't want to be lost. It's like, हाँ sale तो है क्या फर्क पड़ता है, but actually फर्क पड़ता है, right? So let's look at what each of those mean. So that's why I've just left the marketing side away. We have said marketing does whatever it was, it's going to bring in the leads. But once a lead has been brought in, right, whether it is through somebody coming to your website and filling up a web form, coming to Google, filling up a web form, attending an event and getting it, attending your web, whichever way, right, somebody has come in and showed an interest in that, hey, I'm interested in looking at your product. You have what is called an SDR, or a Sales Development Representative. Their job is to only do bank qualifications, BANT, which means budget, authority, need and timeline. That's all they do. Right? What they do is, anybody who fills up a web form, they are the first person to get in touch, ideally within 5 to 15 minutes, because there's a whole theory of if an inbound lead is touched beyond 15 minutes, its ratio of conversion just drops drastically. So can you have someone whose only focus is to reach out to those people, because these are expensive leads, they didn't just come to you, you actually spent a lot of marketing dollars getting them. So that's an SDR, their job is to qualify inbound leads. And then you also do outbound leads, but outbound leads is another specialty called as a BDR, or a Business Development Representative. Very different. Of course, when you're in a 0 to 1 journey, you take inbound, you do outbound and all of that. But as you continue to scale and grow, what you need to realize is that your inbound guy is not going to be efficient at outbound. Or your outbound guy is going to be really bad at converting inbound leads, because your outbound guy is trained to be aggressive. That's going to scare your inbound leads. Your inbound guy needs a lot more nurturing, which your inbound guy will know. So that's how you need to know that subtle difference between SDR and a BDR. It's okay that all the roles are combined together, but as you scale, very important. And especially if you found a good SDR, right, don't write them off because they could not do a good outbound. He or she was not meant for doing that. So coach and guide them to better become at that till the time you actually find an outbound person, but otherwise know the difference between an SDR and a BDR, right? Then when you get into sales, right? Now call it inside sales. Inside sales typically means that you have somebody sitting out of one of the countries doing telephonic sales and not necessarily being there. Or field sales is somebody who is actually there in the market and going and meeting the customers, right? FOS as we typically call it, right? There is a hunter and there is a farmer. Hunter is someone whose job is to go and get you brand new business, which means brand new customers. Right? Their job is to go talk to people who are good prospects, take them through the life cycle or the sales cycle, convert them, get your order signed. That's their job. That's a hunter. A farmer, right, is the person who gets those signed order customers, keeps them happy and grows them. Because as difficult and expensive as it is to get a customer, it's a lot more expensive to lose a customer early on, because every SaaS startup, typically when you find a customer, they're too expensive and their ROI in 1 year, the first year is 0 or negative. And then as they progress over years, that's where your ROI gets better. So when you have found a customer, hold on to them, very, very difficult. Now your hunter is not trained to do that. Just like your BDR and SDR are different, your hunter and farmer are different. Yes, in the early days, the first salesperson will do everything, you have a few customers. But then from a thought process perspective, can you get your hunter and farmer in and have them focus, especially if you've got 10 plus or 20 plus customers who are giving you beyond a 100K ARR, I think it's a good enough time for you to say, hey, I think I deserve a farmer now who needs to protect this bucket and I don't want to. Right? So that's inside sales rep who's a hunter, and then there is an account manager who's a farmer. Right? And then the other two, I think, come over a little longer in the journey when you have many more customers, which is a customer success manager and a customer services rep. Typically as your technology, right? Probably on day one or year 1 or year 2, your technology is a lot more simpler. The use cases that you're solving for a customer are a lot more simpler. But as companies give a larger share of their wallet with you, the number of use cases that they come to you for or you solve for them increases. And that means that you need someone who's just hand-holding them on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes just having baseball talks and nothing else, because that person was frustrated of the board meeting that happened. He just wanted someone, and all you are supposed to do is just talk. And that's what your customer success and customer service person will do, is fix those nuts and bolts, manage the relationship management. Right? Not applicable for the 0 to 1, probably later on in the game, but it's good for you as 0 to 1 members to know that yes, someone actually exists. And why is it? It's important because let's say you grow really fast from 0 to 1 and you haven't allocated a budget for all of these guys when you're going from a 1 to 10, you will see that pain. And then learning that, and it's very difficult and it actually costs you money, it's going to cost you growth. So can you start planning that budget well in advance to say, okay, today I don't need it, it's great that I know, but if my plan this year is to go from 100K to $1 million, next year it's definitely from a 1 to 2 or 4 million, which means that can I already start thinking about these roles? Can I start asking my present employees to say, hey, do you know someone that we can probably get on who will be a good farmer, who is a good customer success manager, who's done it in their past life? Should I look at competition to find someone? Blah, blah, blah. So start thinking. And what do all of these guys do? This is all they do. And if this is all you can do, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, I think $1 billion is not very far away, right? It's your funnel. Goes like this, really narrows down, right? Sometimes proportional to time, sometimes proportional to money, sometimes inversely proportional to time, inversely proportional to money. Right on top of the funnel, you will see a lot more people coming in as interest. You call it intent, you call it whatever, those leads are going to come in. Your SDR, then, so those are stage 1, lead generation, which is where marketing is going to get everybody. Maybe a student, maybe a person who's doing research, everybody is going to come because they just want to know what's happening, including your competitors, right? But when you weed out all of those guys, you get to stage 2, this lead qualification, which is where your SDR, BDR come into play, because they are saying, hey, do you have a budget? Authority? Is there a timeline? Not 5 years down the line, within the next 6 months, are you willing to do business with me? And is there a real need, or is this just kind of a conversation, right? Lead qualification, that's where your SDRs and BDRs typically play out. Then comes your lead getting converted, which is what it's moving into a real sales pipeline, right? And this is probably where the maximum goal is. A lot of companies have gone from a 0 to 10, not changing anything in their leads, doing nothing, just doing 2 things. adjusting stage 2 and adjusting stage 3. And when you play around with the conversions in the stage 2 or 3, for the same amount of marketing dollars, what was coming to you before, you can actually make into 2 out of that just by adjusting these 2 metrics. So that's how critical a SDR, BDR and a hunter typically play in your entire pipeline. Right? Stage 4, customer success, your farmer comes into play. You need to keep renewing your customers, and it's also important that you get a greater share of their wallet as you continue to grow. Get them a lot more sticky. The more sticky they are, it's tough for them to move away from you. But the less sticky that they are, you always have a chance that they can move away from you to somebody else. Right? I mean, if you just have one case that you are solving, that's a totally different thing. But more often than not, if you're in a B2B SaaS space, there are enough use cases that you tend to solve for your customer over a period of time. Right? And that's how you're going to grow your company.
Typically, we see 2 terminologies being used. One is MQL, the marketing qualified leads, and the SQL, sales qualified leads. What's the difference between here and off?
Really good question, right? And the question was, hey, we hear MQL, which is a marketing qualified lead, and we hear SQL, which is a sales qualified lead, right? Now, every company tends to have its own definitions based on product and market and all of that. But the generally accepted terminology is stage 1 to stage 2. If you're able to push someone, once you get into stage 2, you are an MQL or a marketing qualified lead, which means that, hey, 100 people reached out to me. I know that 20 were noise because they were competitors, they were investors, they were my own employees filling out the form. My neighbor wanting to know, curious to know what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. When you weed out all of that noise, and you think that, wait, based on the ICP that I have, this particular person in this particular company may be interested in my product. We don't know yet if they are interested or not, but that maybe if you are able to qualify, you go from a lead to an NQL, which is a marketing qualified lead. NQL to SQL happens from stage 2 to stage 3, which means that you know that, hey, this company and the person fits my ICP, you're going to go talk to them, have that BANT, bank qualification, bank conversation, and if they agree to invest more time and probably give away their money in the future, then as they move from stage 2 to stage 3, they become a SQL or sales qualified. This, I think, a lot of
so if we give away free trials to the customers, that would come in as an SQL, right, to SQL conversion.
So free trial for me is an MQL, right? Because somebody has come and is going to say that I want to try your product, right? Which means that they were in a lead first. Remember, your competitor could come and say, hey, I want to sign up for a free trial too, right? But they are not necessarily an SQL. So once you have had, let them try out your product, especially if you're giving out this one. Let them try out your product. When you are giving out free trials, it's very important that you know how much of engagement is actually happening, right? So have engagement analytics at the time of to know how many times is a person logging in. If they just sign up for a free trial and then never log in again, then remember, time is most important. So probably your SDR or you yourself don't want to spend a lot of time and energy getting to those people because yes, they signed up, but they never did anything with your product. This is a person who actually signed up and spent 4 to 5 hours doing your free trial. You want to spend a lot. That person is a much better MQL for me, and then that person has the highest chances of becoming a SQ.
Okay. Is there a best practice for the number of days of free trial for a product, or it differs from product to product?
It's different, definitely different. But ideally, it's said that back in the days, back when we were doing this, right? They said that, and we kept changing that, right? Is it number of days? Is it number of hours? And then I think we found a sweet spot saying that if anybody spends more than 2 hours in a trial within the first 48 hours, I think they have a good chance. I think you're going to learn over a period of time.
Between link to MQL and MQL to SQL, what is the ideal percentage of conversion?
If I'm brand new in a company, right, that I have not seen and I have no history whatsoever, the accepted thing is that, hey, if 100 people are signing up, you ideally want to get at least 60% of those people into your MQL funnel. acceptable ratio. The better you get, the better it is. A company which needs to do a transactional kind of a thing, right? A survey monkey or something like that. For them, probably getting all the 4 is important too, right? So it really depends. Second one is around data hygiene, right? There's so many different people. How do you manage data hygiene? And it goes back to process. Is that, and I don't think anybody has cracked the code till now, including the best of the companies, is because everybody wants to do what they want to do. I will not fill up my emails, go fish. I'm the top sales guy. I'm not going to spend my time, putting in emails and calls and blah blah blah. That's where automation comes into play. I think a lot of these 5 years back versus today, a lot of these tasks can be automated. A sales rep does not. Like for example, what we do at Amagi, we have a revenue intelligence tool called Clary. We have Salesforce. We have Gmail. Anytime a sales rep sends out their the only email system that they have is Gmail. They're going to send, reply, everything is automated. They don't even realize how it happens, but every email that's sent out automatically sits in the right account, under the right opportunity, under the right contact. Right? Some is done through some of the sales reps because they follow processes. For those that they don't, you have a RevOps guy who as a brute force is fixing the system. Fixing the plane as it's flying is the analogy that you say, right? But you're doing that. But I think once you have a process in place, and the reality, Jenny, is I don't think you will ever get it. Your data sanity is the biggest insanity question that you have today, which is a reality for it. This, I think, is super duper critical, and a lot of us don't realize this, right? Especially on the 0 to 1 journey, is that a ramp up period is a reality. For those of you who do not know what a ramp up period is that if I join the company on day 1, I am not productive on day 1, I'm not productive on week 1, I'm not productive on month 1, I'm not even productive at the end of quarter 1. That is the reality of SaaS sales. It doesn't matter whether it's a product that you can sell within 24 hours because that's how short a cycle is, or whether it takes 1 year. It takes, and multiple studies have been done by multiple groups. I just brought up one of the slides. Most of them will agree that between 3 to 4 months is what it takes at minimum for any of your revenue function employees to become productive. Right? Not less than that. So if you are expecting that, hey, on Jan 1 I have hired someone, my sales rep's productivity, fully sales rep productivity is $1,200 a year, I'm going to get $1,200. No. Why? Is this? For a sales rep who is fully ramped, which means who's been in the system for a few months, and come Jan 1st, this person has the potential to close $1,000 for all the 12 months, means get to $12,000. Hire another sales rep, probably the best in the market that you can get hold of, who has already sold a product which you are planning to sell. Probably was with your best possible competitor. Does not matter. When you hire that person on Jan 1, Jan, Feb, March, zilch. April, May, June, 50% of productivity. Probably from July is when that person becomes productive. Even though you hired someone on the first day of the year, you think you've done a good job, but that person is going to give you only $7,500 and not $12,000. I was delayed by 3 months, not more, 3 months. I hired someone on 1st of April. April, May, June, 0. July, August, September, 50%. Guess what? The person, because I was late by 3 months, is giving me much less than 50% of what a fully ramped rep gave me on day 1. So you may say, wait, how does it matter if I'm going to hire a person on December 1st or April 1st? Here is a proof of a very simple $1,000 sale, and in terms of what impact that it has. So if you're doing your entire planning saying, hey, I need to get from $100K to $1 million, this is the number of fully ramped reps that I need, and you're going to hire all of them on Jan 1, you are going to miss your goal. For sure. And it's the ramp. So ramp is a reality, especially in the revenue function. Not saying not in the other functions. Every function needs it. Please start planning for that. And this is, I think, there is not a single company that I have not worked at where they have got this wrong. Everybody gets it wrong, but see if you can get it right, it's amazing. Everybody works for money. Everybody works for money, including the founders. I'm not starting a startup just to say it's a time possible. I'm hoping somewhere I'm going to have an exit and have millions of dollars, move to the US, drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and blah blah blah, right? But if you want to make your millions of dollars, your employees, especially your revenue function folks, need to make a lot of money, and you need to accept it. Which means that there will be times where your most productive sales rep is making more money than you as a CEO. It is a reality, it has happened in enough startups, will continue to happen. Why? Because you said that, hey, $1,200 is the maximum, let's say 1.2 million, right? $1.2 million is the maximum that a sales rep can close, that's what I know. Guess what? The sales rep just closed a deal on starting of the year, which was $1.2 million. And then he continued to close a few more. He's now at $3.6 million, which means that, hey, he was supposed to make 20 lakhs, but because he did 3x of his quota and he's got accelerators, blah, 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 he's probably going to make 75 lakhs. I don't make money as a CEO person. That's okay. It's okay. But remember this, if your revenue teams are making money, you know, it's the biggest proof that you have that you are on your path to success. Do not freak out as a 0 to 1 number. It's okay for them to make money.
Small, no need for that. Small recommendation, and that's simple. I would say just one thing needs to be added: keep the plan simple, not just the communication. Communication is easy.
So true. So true. Simple. So he said, right? It's not just the plan, and it's not just the communication, but the plan also needs to be simple. Exactly right. Don't say, wait, my sales rep, okay, I've given them a 20 lakhs fixed salary, 20 lakhs variable salary. Now I'm going to go put in the number of emails that they send. 10% of your commission is going to be based on email, 10% on calls they make, 20% on funnel conversion, 50% on closure, another 20% on churn. No, I mean, I know there are a lot of metrics out there. Don't get everything. Make it super simple. You know, you close, you make money. You beat your target, you make 1.2 or 1.5 times because you hit a multiplier. That's it.
When sales is just wrapping up, so how do you incentivize them? Because they're just wrapping up 6-7 months, 4-5 months gap in there. But you have to keep them motivated. They just join and they are talented. So how as a founder we have to keep them motivated or incentivize?
Really good question, right? And the question is, how do you keep a sales rep motivated from month 1 to month 3 because they have 0 as a number? So typically for sales or revenue functions, you have a guarantee period. So your first quarter is usually a guarantee. Because you're going to come, you're going to get trained, blah, blah, blah. So let's say if you had a 10 lakh salary package, 2.5 lakhs every quarter is what you were supposed to make as your variable salary. Your first 2.5 lakhs is guaranteed. Whether I give you a quota, I don't give you a quota, that does not matter. Sometimes I do give you, sometimes I don't give you. But the first 2.5 lakhs is always guaranteed. It's a guarantee period, a very well known accepted principle across SaaS sales. First quarter is guaranteed. Second quarter, you have only given them 50% of the target. So whatever achievement that they make, they still make the 2.5. So which means that your cost was probably more for his second quarter. But when he or she gets to the third quarter, then you're going to start getting it. That's an accepted thing you need to build into your profitability and CAC and everything else. Is first quarter nothing, second quarter 50%, that means that person is a lot more expensive. Then that person is going to hit that corporation. Happens. Right? And last one, right? I'm not going to touch on everything, but last one, unlimited. Right? Like I said, if your sales people are making a lot of money, it's the best proof for you as a SaaS founder that you are on the right track. Right? Provided you've built the right plan, you're not giving away money saying, "Arey yaar, tu to acha banta hai, chal main de deta hu." No, that's not the thing. Sales is competitive. Challenge your sales rep. Your sales rep hits the numbers, they make the money. They go beyond, they make a lot more than what they normally would. That's the way sales likes it. Sales is a racehorse. Don't make a donkey out of them. They hate it. They will leave your company if you make a donkey out of them because they like to thrive in a competitive environment. And you need to accept that, challenge them. The more you challenge them, the more they flourish, typically. So keep it unlimited. I've seen some of the founders who say, "Oh my God, this person was supposed to make 20 lakhs and just out of one deal, now we're going to cut a 60 lakhs check for this person. Shit, my compensation plan is shit." No. Most often than not, it does not matter whether you're a day one company or a $1 billion plus company, your compensation plan is meant for 80 to 90% of your sales team. There is that part of 10% which is always going to beat and always going to make more money. It's okay. You don't build your sales plans for your 10%, you build your sales plans for your 90%. And if you're doing that, you're good. Right? KPIs, super duper critical. I think right from the day one of your journey. Right? Remember, metrics are unlimited, right? Because data is unlimited. You can go on and on and on and on and on and on and build metrics. Don't. Select those few metrics which really matter to you. Right? I'm not saying don't track all the 100 metrics, but you don't track all the 100 metrics. Out of the 100 metrics, 10 is what is important for you as a senior member of the team. Then there are another 20 which your middle management needs to focus on. And then there is another 70 that your final layer, as you get to those layers, right, needs to focus on. Don't take all those 100 into you, right? Why? Because this is your sales KPIs. Simple. You can make it even more simpler. You can go to your marketing and say, hey, I'm just going to track the top level metrics. Or you can torture yourself and give all the possible metrics that you can from a digital marketing perspective. But guess what? If you torture data long enough, it's going to tell you the story that you want to hear. But also guess what? Data is a bitch. It's going to come back to you and then it's going to say, I told you so. You forced me to say whatever that I wanted, I did. But buddy, sorry, you got it wrong. Right? So don't torture your data long enough. Know the key metrics that you want to track. No matter how good a person you are, whether you are the Steve Jobs of the world or who you are, you're going to get a few metrics right, you're going to get a few metrics wrong. Live with it. As long as you're not getting maximum of your metrics wrong, you're okay, you're on the right track. Right? So choose your metrics carefully, and there is no mantra of this is it. If you track this, you're the most successful founder. No. It's different for everybody. You're going to learn over a period of time. Be selective. Sometimes you'll say, I don't want to track this conversion, but you'll be like, shit man, I burned 1,000 rupees today just by not tracking this. It's alright. It's a learning exercise. You'll probably learn over a period of time. But if you're going to try and track those 100, you won't even know what you're going, where is it that you're doing.
So, a quick question. I know I'm doing a little bit on a tangent. You may not have thought of covering this.
Yeah.
In the early days, right? In the sales cycle, you want to compress. What are the go-to sort of approaches, tactics that you can use to try to compress a sales cycle? And this is very early days. You have early customers. All of that.
Very good question. Couple of things. One of the best things is, am I trying to sell everything to a customer or am I happy with foot in the door? Sometimes you may have 5 things to sell to a customer in terms of 5 different stories. It's okay if you say, hey, those 5 things are worth $5,000. Maybe that person's asking you again and again, saying, wait, I'm interested in this. Forget the 4, convince that person, get those $1,000, get a foot into the door, your sales cycle becomes a lot. A lot of times, where it takes longer is you're trying to sell all the 5 because like, dude, I know if you get all of these 5 right, you are amazing, you're solved. I have given everything that you want. Right? I am Vishnu right now, just listen to me. No, if the customer is asking for 1 thing or 2 things, make it easy, get a foot in the door. Always helps your cycle reduce. Second one, where I think the biggest burn happens, and whether it's a day 1 company or a $1 billion company, is negotiation. Right? And especially around the T's and C's. Wait, you said I need to give a 60-day notice to cancel yours. My company follows a 30-day period. How stuck are you? Right? Second one, my T's and C's says that any legal jurisdiction is the city of Bangalore. They will say no, I want Hyderabad. Doesn't really matter. Right? So whatever your T's and C's are, most often than not, that's why a lot of them prefer what is called as a click-through MSA, wherein you have your T's and C's on your website. The way you buy is, hey, I just accept it. Hey, there is nothing. I don't have an exhaustive list. I don't have a legal team. I don't have that much of money. Here are my generic T's and C's and T's. Sign it, you're done. Those 2 things, most often than not, reduce 50% of your sales.
Alright, do you think there's a role here, and this is tying in with the question that I asked earlier, gentlemen as well, that because you were purely sales-led in the initial days, there is very little marketing, very little problem awareness, solution awareness, and especially if you're winning a new category. Do you think that marketing and exposing in more content will accelerate the sales cycle? Is that a fair assumption?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Because the truth is, if you're going to send them 10 collaterals, they're probably going to look at 1 or more.
Sure.
Whether you like it or not, that's simple.
Sure, yeah.
Even Microsoft and all.
No, I get it, but we're not talking about sending them stuff. I'm saying that orchestrating the customer journey, the discovery, etc. in such a way that they're able to come across your content and at least become profitable, especially in a new category where the problem is people aren't used to thinking of the problem in that way, right? Because it's a new category.
So that goes back to my first answer, right? Is that are you trying to sell everything? Business, listen to them a little more. More often than not, your prospect is going to answer their own questions. Right? Your slides have it. It's great that you have figured out a nice slideshow. It's all good, but it's okay if your slideshow is not going the way you want. Absolutely okay. It's a new category. You think that it's a new category, but guess what? Your customer has already gone through that pain and they've probably solved that pain in a different way. Yeah. Could be a jugaad, could be a hustle, but listen to your customer more often than not, try to prove your point. And I think that's typically what consultative selling is that you're listening to your customer a lot more than you're trying to download everything that you have in terms of your knowledge.
Good.
Right? And I think this is typically what we RevOps guys do, right? Is we always start off with data and then we end up with bullshit, right? And you will see this is that this guy just started off with data. He started telling his boss that, oh, by the way, my data says that your tie and your shirt are matching very well, right? So don't torture the data because it's literally going to tell you everything. The last point is technology. I think all of us are building this, and in the world that we live today, the reality is that for everything that we do, we need technology. Right? Email technology, I need it. To track whether I sent an email, I need it. Did my customer open an email, not open an email, how long did they send? There is a technology for that, I need it. Right? I need to send automated emails and not manual emails, there is another technology for that. Right? Within your PPC space, there are tens of things that do bits and pieces of PPC. Within your SEO space, there are tens of technology that do bits and pieces. So this is literally the easiest slide that I could find in terms of tech stack that exists today. Right? A lot more is a lot more crowded, and we are trying to, all of us are culprits here in this room, we are trying to make this space a lot more crowded by building more technology and saying that, hey, here, buy one more piece of technology, right? Absolutely okay. But then what's important for you is this, is that what is the technology that's most important for me in a 0 to 1 journey versus a 1 to 10 journey? And this is something that I have learned, is that two things that are most important and probably you should always invest in if possible on day one, and there are free technologies that are available that you can invest on day one without spending literally zero. One is a CRM. Don't get into the habit of carrying journals and entering things in journals. It's a very difficult habit to keep. Don't put it in your slides, don't put it in your Excel spreadsheets, don't put it in your online documents. No. Invest in a CRM. Zoho, if you sign up today, it costs you zero to sign up for Zoho for 5 users, and you can start using Zoho today. As simple as that. Yes, it's got restrictions in terms of, hey, this is the number of accounts you can have and blah, blah, blah. At least you're getting started. And then it's probably going to cost you like 500 rupees a month to expand that plan to a slightly more thing which you probably will not use anyway. So invest in a CRM system. Your early processes and early habits will do wonders. Second one is marketing automation, right? Your sales comes second in your early stages. The marketing more often than not comes first. And sometimes it's a fight between marketing and sales. Why? Because like Manoj said, I'm going to my near and dear ones that I know, that's brute force sales, no doubt about it. I'm going to get referrals, I'm going to do sales. But there's only so much of people that you know that you can go and brute force sell into or refer into, right? Somewhere your marketing engine needs to start playing a very critical role rather than trying to have it spread all across and say, wait, I have Google Analytics and I have my Excel spreadsheet and I'm all solved. No, try and understand what does marketing automation mean and see if you can invest in a marketing automation. Again, there are technologies which cost you zero on day one to invest in. They give you the basics. If you start learning the basics, that's going to help you choose a much better software in the future. So I think from a RevOps perspective, these are two things I think you should not miss in your 0 to 1 journey. Other than that, the third one that you should never miss is an e-signature. Literally costs you $5 a month. Don't send PDF documents and expect people to sign off and blah blah blah. No, invest in an e-signature. have your employees sign their initial contracts on e-signature, you sign all your contracts on e-signature, and trust me, you will. Reducing sales cycles, e-signature makes it that much more easier for you. Everything becomes super easy. And I think the worst you would end up spending is about $5. But the amount of, you don't need to worry about storing your contracts anywhere because it's already auto-stored for you in the cloud. You have a date and time stamp. It syncs with your CRM system. You can attach it. Everything that a guy like me will come and do it in your later stages, you've done it on day one. Right? So these three technologies, I would say that is a must-have for a 0 to 1 journey. If you don't have these, I think you're going to really struggle as you continue. And especially if you want a hockey stick growth, these three things are going to bite you during your early stages. You're going to be like, shit, I wish I had done this 1 month before, my life would have been so much more easier. Right? So I think those three are the most important. Other than that, there are many, many more. I've probably listed the easiest possible. I could have probably built a 20 slider just based on what are the different types of tech stack that they exist and why they are important. This is not, right? But I think these are, especially throughout your journey, from a 0 to at least a $10 million, if you have 50% of this, and literally I mean 50% of this tech stack, I think you've done a good job. And I think you have pretty much everything that you need to set your company for an even much better success. And that's all RevOps does. When I go into any company, all I'm doing is this. I've been doing this for 2 decades. That's all I've done. I go, I figure out, I say, not there, get it. There, not required, remove it. It's a waste of time and energy. I, as a RevOps guy, don't want to waste my time doing this because it adds zero value. Founder, I know you love it, but throw it out right now. It's okay if I'm wasting money, but I'm not wasting my time. Right? So certain things which are critical, get them right, and I think it's just going to make your journey that much easier. And that hopefully was the best crash course that you had in the RevOps. That's all I have. Thank you for the time and very much.